My dear friends, welcome to day 2 of our 40-day journey through the Psalms. Today's reading, of course, were Psalms 5, 6, 7, and 8, concluding with the iconic Psalm 8. No doubt many of you, as you read through this passage, said to yourselves, I know this psalm. I recognize this. Psalm 8 is a very familiar psalm to many of us. Many of us have sang it in various songs and praise anthems. Let's begin today by looking at this psalm together. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. From the lips of children and infants you ordain praise because of your enemies, to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him? The Son of Man that you care for him? You made him a little lower than the heavenly beings and crowned him with glory and honor. You have made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all the flocks and herds and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, all that swim the paths of the sea. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Now, as we look at this psalm, I want you to notice the structure of this psalm. Now, hold with me for a moment here as we take a look at this, because I think as we see here that the structure of this psalm shows us how we ought to structure our lives, how we ought to structure our days, how we ought to structure everything that we do, in fact. Now, first notice that at the beginning and the end of this song, we have bookends of praise to the excellent name of God. In all things, we need to begin and end with God's glory. This is where we start. From here, we move on to God's rule, God's order, God's authority. Now, notice here, he rules over all things. He establishes his greatness. He then establishes his greatness by the most humble of things. From here, we look at man's humility. What is man that you are mindful of him? The Son of Man that you care for him. Indeed, when we begin to look at God and see him for who he is, we're left with the same thoughts as Isaiah had. Woe is me. Why would God care about me? But then we move on, not staying there, and we see the greatness of one who has been made to be an image bearer of the Most High God. Now, from this dichotomy, we have the great rule and responsibility of man, that God has put us over all things, and we have a responsibility to God to be good stewards of all things that he has entrusted to us. And finally, again, we return to praise the name of the most excellent God. Now, as you look at this and as you think of this, I want to challenge you with that structure again. Bookend your days with praise to God's name. Bookend your life and all that you do with praise to God's name. Make it begin and end with God's glory. Submit to his rule. Acknowledge your own unworthiness and marvel at the greatness that Christ has bestowed upon you. Fulfill that responsibility that God has entrusted to you, and praise the most excellent name of the Lord. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth.